What do you enjoy most about the Antiques Roadshow? Is it the valuation stories or seeing the antiques?
It surprises me that these are still available at yard sales.
Who says yard sales can't have valuable items worth thousands of dollars? This lady bought a mini statue at a yard sale for $40 because she felt it looked like a Chinese Buddha made around the 1600s.
You're correct. It's a Chinese Buddha. It's a bodhisattva. It's a diva. It's a female form of Buddha. She's a multi-armed deity. There are some small losses. These are all attributes and they're mostly Buddhistic symbols. You have a sword here with no blade. You have a hand, an attribute missing from my right.
Yep.
However, she isn't really fascinated by the item and leaves it inside a box in her garage. She thought that it could be worth something despite the damage. Tell us, is that the case?
I think in a auction setting, a value of 15 to 20,000 would be conservative.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome.
But that's not all.
In a retail setting, I would imagine it to carry a value of $30,000.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much.
Well bought.
Yeah, apparently.
A regular reader of the Chicago Daily News bagged a valuable side letter for $400 after her favorite columnist, Mike Rocchio, held an auction for a spiteful letter he received from American singer Frank Sinatra, where he condemned an article Mike wrote about him. The letter was valued at $15,000.
Are you all right?
Oh, yes, give me a seat. Oh, man. Are they kidding me? Did you all hear that? Did you all hear that?
Iconic actress Marilyn Monroe once again makes jaws drop on the Antiques Roadshow. A dress worn by the actress in the movie Some Like It Hot appeared on the show. The man who brought it in received the costume from a friend who is a Hollywood costume designer. The costume was made by three-time Academy Award-winning costume designer Ori Kelly. The dress was valued at $150,000 to $250,000.
Oh my God. Whoa.
No, but I wrapped myself up in a package and sent myself over to Hawaii and delivered my own self.
This segment features a guest who brought in an original Madam puppet from the 1970s sitcom Madam's Place, created by Waylon Flowers.
You brought something really cool today. Why don't you tell me about it?
Well, when Waylon Flowers was first starting out, one of his first jobs was in Provincetown at the Pilgrim House. And my friend Dana found out that it was Waylon Flowers' birthday, so he threw a surprise birthday party.
And how did you get it?
Well, Dana's a longtime friend of mine, and I kept eyeing her at his house. And I said, boy, Dana, I sure would like to have that Madam. He said, well, I'll leave it to you in my will.
The guest obtained the puppet as a gift from a friend who had received it directly from Flowers. The appraiser explains that Flowers was an openly gay performer who pushed boundaries with his racy comedy act. The puppet was handmade by Flowers and lacks movable hands, distinguishing it as an early version. Only two other original Madam puppets have been auctioned, selling for $4,500 in the 1990s and $12,500 more recently. Given today's market for nostalgic childhood memorabilia, what might it be worth today?
At auction, I would probably estimate it somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000.
Holy Moses.
So it's a nice gift.
Madam,
You had a good eye.
you're quite the girl.
The guest is thrilled by the unexpected value, and many fans immediately recognized Madam when it was brought to the show. A collection of license plate numbers seems like a joke, but when you hear the value, you might start second guessing. The family of this man maintained the license plate number 1583 from 1915 till 1967.
You hit 1949.
Here's what the appraiser had to say about the collection's value.
In the world of auction today, conservatively for the group, we'd see this bring in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
Wow.
In terms of registering a vehicle today, it is so hard to get a low-digit plate. I'm so awesome to hear that you still have it.
Yeah, we enjoy it. My granddaughter's in line for the next
That's
set of
awesome.
Alexander Calder had given her aunt this mobile as an appreciation for a needlepoint pillow she did for one of his pieces. Alexander Calder was an American sculptor known for his mobiles. These mobiles are sort of kinetic sculptures and are made with thin wire and aluminum. The guest has had the piece since 1985 and has been given a valuation of $30,000 in the past. But on the show, the value for this piece was $400,000 to $1 million.
Oh my God.
Not bad for a pillow.
Oh.
We mostly get to see the behind-the-scenes footage of movies, but this time we got to see a clapperboard that was used during the production of Jaws, one of the biggest summer blockbusters in 1975. Jaws is an American thriller based on the novel by Peter Benchley. It was the first motion picture to be filmed in the ocean. The daughter of a man who worked in the transportation division during the production of the movie says the clapperboard was handed to him by one of the camera crew whom he was friends with. A picture of her father with the character of the movie Bruce the Shark was brought together with the board. No doubt he was part of the production. During the movie's production, her father lived in Martha's Vineyard. He was a bachelor at the time and lived together with some friends.
Fantastic.
This was one of the items that was in a box just in our basement, always kind of sitting around when I was a kid. I remember seeing it when we moved and sold that house. It kind of disappeared.
Her mother was convinced that the board was a lot of money, so they searched for it and luckily found it. The family will for sure be jubilating that they did. The clapperboard was specifically made for Jaws and was designed to imitate the opening and closing of a shark's mouth. It's a unique clapperboard and was used during the production of a popular movie. So it wasn't surprising to hear that at auction, the clapperboard would be a popular item with collectors.
It's worth quite a bit to collectors. If this was to come up at auction, I put an auction estimate of $25,000 to $35,000 on it.
Wow. All right.
The mother's instinct was correct after all. This guitar had been played by the owner since he was 10 years old, and he discovered its amazingly high value after bringing it to the roadshow.
On.
That's you here at 10 or 11 years of age?
That's my dad, and that's my teacher. I guess I was around 13 or 14 when I started actually making some money at it. Went on from there. I was on the road for a few years with a few bands, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
The guitar was made by John D'Angelico in the 90s. D'Angelico is known for his handmade Archtop guitars and is the founder of the company named D'Angelico Guitars Company. Such a sweet melody is almost equivalent to the guitar's value of $30,000 to $35,000. The family of this man, who died in 1794, believed that his portrait haunts them. Perhaps he has some unfinished business on Earth.
And I would swear that I could hear him open and close the front door, walk up the stairs, and walk down the hall, and I would think it was my father or my mother coming home.
The man, Aaron Delano, was a sea captain during the 18th century. His portrait that was brought to the show had been in the family for years. It was an oil canvas with no visible signature on it. The artist of the piece remains unknown. According to the appraiser, the painting at auction would go for $8,000 to $10,000.
Hey, that's good. It's exciting.
Everybody probably knows who Albert Einstein is, but this woman got to know him on a more personal level and even took pictures of him.
My grandmother had a sister. Her name was Lottie Newstein, and they lived in New York. She had worked as an X-ray technician for Dr. Bucky, who was a close friend of Einstein. So she met him on a personal level and started taking photographs of him.
Albert Einstein was a German theoretical physicist who is regarded as one of the greatest and most influential scientists of all time. He developed the theory of relativity and contributed to quantum mechanics. Lottie's grandniece brought a collection which included three items. The first item was an original signed sketch of Albert Einstein that had been used as a cover of Saturday Review in 1955. It was signed by Einstein for Lottie's sister, Alice Schlesinger. The second item was a photograph of her aunt with a 1942 letter written to her aunt in German.
Your letter, it was done in 1942, and it's tough to translate. Someone who speaks German well looked at it and said, can't quite make it out.
The third item is an autographed book of Einstein titled The World as I See It and was written in 1949.
One of the things that I really love about this is when you open up and you can touch something that Einstein touched.
A lot of people would be fascinated if they had a chance to touch an object that Einstein once touched. The appraiser himself was quite intrigued.
This would be in the value of $5,000, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
5 to 6. This one, 1951, and this is probably a $3,000 to $5,000 just for the signature. And then the last one is a nicely signed book, and again, you're probably in that $5,000 to $6,000 range because he didn't just sign it.
The sum of the entire collection's value was approximately $17,000.
Thank you so much. It's nice to know.
A doll was kept in the family for 50 years. Must have been extremely precious to them. The doll was brought by the guest for her parents, but it wasn't until they passed that she was going to keep the doll in her possession. Schmidt A. Fills are the makers of the doll, and it's called a bébé doll. It was made with bisque during the late 19th century in Paris. The value for it was $16,000 to $18,000.
Oh my goodness. I've even seen them at auction sale for more.
Wow.
Very desirable, high-end doll.
Well, I guess I shouldn't have laughed.
Marvin Gaye's passport somehow landed in a Motown collector's possession after finding it inside an album he purchased. Marvin Gaye is an American musician who ranked as number 20 in Rolling Stone's Greatest Musicians of All Time in 2023. The appraiser had noted that passports were great collections, and his would be valued at around $20,000.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding you. Nothing comes up from Marvin Gaye. It's not a really common thing to see Marvin Gaye memorabilia.
Wow. I never would have thought. I mean, I'm just shocked. I mean, wow. Oh gosh, thank you.
Remember the Pokémon cards craze that was trending back in the day? Turns out it's now worth a pretty good amount of money. This 90s lady was obsessed with the Pokémon trading card collection and played them virtually everywhere with her friends.
Online. Being a 90s baby myself, the Pokémon craze was insane. When we look at Pokémon today as a brand, as a franchise, Pokémon is an all-encompassing brand. It's unbelievable.
Her mom, however, felt she was being cheated in her Pokémon trades, so she paid $35 to purchase a complete set of cards for her at an online website during the late 1990s. The collection the lady had was the original Pokémon set from 1999, the first 102 cards released in the Pokémon game. It had 16 original holographic cards.
Hey, little buddy, want to ride? Yeah, whatever.
Pokémon is a Japanese media franchise owned by Nintendo. The franchise consists of video games, animated series, films, a trading card game, and other related media. It was released in 1996 in Japan and later released in 1999 in the United States. The name Pokémon is an abbreviation of the name Pocket Monster. The owner of the Pokémon card collection had come to the show with very low expectations for the collection because her friends had told her it would cost $50.
Conservatively, at auction, we would say that your binder would be in the $5,000 to $10,000 range.
Wow, much more than I was expecting.
Like never before. New Pokémon Heart Gold and Soul Silver version games, only for Nintendo DS and Nintendo DSi.
This guest had 78 Hall of Fame players autograph his Louisville Slugger back in the early 80s. That's quite a number. Among the signatures on the bat were of prominent baseball players like Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, and Willie Mays. The autograph-covered bat was valued at $4,000 to $6,000.
Okay, very nice.
A porcelain dish that was a Christmas gift from a blind uncle turns out to have a value worth 6 figures. The dish is a 16th century Chinese Celadon charger that was bought from Japan, where the guest uncle worked as a civilian director. Japanese people were huge collectors of Celadon pieces for centuries. A fun fact is, they valued Celadon porcelain even more than gold. The value placed on the charger was $80,000 to $120,000. However, the item surpassed this value in 2022 and sold for $390,000 at an auction organized by a company named Doyle.
These are 2 games for a Nintendo gaming system, and my dad gave these to me.
The games were Super Mario Bros. 3 and Double Dragon. The games were given to her by her father, but because he had them already, he never opened the ones he received. Super Mario Bros. And Double Dragon were widely played when they were released. How much are these great games worth?
Conservatively at auction today, the Super Mario Bros. 3 would be $1,000 to $2,000.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
Okay, now this is where you're really going to thank your dad. The Double Dragon. This is easily a $2,000 to $3,000 game.
That's a lot.
So, total at auction today for the pair of cartridges, you would be at $3,000 to $5,000 in the market.
Oh my gosh, that's surprising.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you, Dad.
Well, Ted, did you notice when you showed this to me that I kind of stopped breathing a little bit?
Yeah, you did.
The blanket was given by Kit Carson to the foster father of the owner's grandmother.
Probably a Chief blanket, but...
That's exactly what it is, and it's not just a Chief's blanket, it's the first type of Chief's blanket made.
The blanket was made by Navajo women for Ute chiefs and was called Ute First Phase Wearing Blanket. The blanket was made from hand-woven churro sheep wool and was in use from 1800 to the 1840s.
It's an extraordinary piece of art. It's extremely rare. It is the most important thing that's come into the roadshow that I've seen. On a really bad day, this textile would be worth $350,000. On a good day, it's about $500,000.
Oh, my God.
The owner wasn't expecting a high value from the blanket.
I can't believe this.
Again, maybe 20%.
Wow. Can't believe it. My grandmother, were poor farmers.
The blanket was bought by an anonymous buyer for $400,000. It was then donated to the Detroit Institute of Arts. Not only did this man live under the same roof as Colonel Sanders, he also received his iconic white blazer as a gift. Colonel Sanders is the founder of the popular fast food chicken restaurant, Kentucky Fried Chicken. He and the guest had become acquainted after he lived in the basement of the guest family house for a period of time. Sanders had given the guest an autographed frame photo of himself, which the appraiser said would sell for $300 to $500. The main item, which was the suit that had a label showing that it belonged to the mogul, was valued at $30,000 to $50,000. A clown-faced automaton that was once displayed at Macy's was inherited by the guest from his mother. The automaton was made by a Frenchman, Leopold Lambert, who worked for the largest automaton maker, Gustave Vichy, before setting up his own company in 1886 and began producing his own pieces. The automatons were made to serve as decorative pieces for wealthy families back in the day. The guest automaton was fairly bruised, giving it a value between $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't realize it would be that much.
A painting that was in the Carnegie Mansion in New York City was gifted to the boilerman of the family. The Carnegie Mansion was home to the industrialist and philanthropist Andrew Carnegie and his family. The lady's father-in-law worked as a boilerman for the family.
Chose to get rid of certain things that she did not want, so they put small prices on everything, hoping that the employees of the building could purchase them, not knowing that they were going to be gifted.
Wow.
So everybody picked some moderate things to take, and then at the end they didn't have to pay for it, and this is one of them. And it was in my in-laws' house since 1946, which is the year my husband was born, and he remembers it being in the house all those years and loved it.
The painting was done in 1900 by Joseph Henry Sharp, a famous American painter and founding member and spiritual father of the Taos Society of Artists. Sharp has produced around 10,500 works. I think everyone would like to receive such a gift from their employer.
This painting would bring between $50,000 and $70,000.
I can't believe it. That's amazing.
An etching purchased for $1 turns out to be worth thousands of dollars. The guest who brought a picture said she has always loved to thrift since she was 15 years old. One day, she found the picture of snow at a thrift shop and purchased it for $1. The etching is titled Snow and Adobe, and it was made in 1934 by Jean Claus, an American artist who received widespread recognition and awards during the 1930s. Claus fell in love with Mexico when she and her husband visited the country. And then she set up a studio in Taos and started making etchings there. Snow and Adobe is a super scarce etching by Claus and has never appeared in any auction. The owner had turned down a $2,000 offer to buy the picture. Was that the right decision?
I would put a replacement or insurance value on this work at $10,000.
$1? $10,000? Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. $10,000.
This man's father was a baseball umpire, so he got to meet many popular baseball players. During a game when he was younger, he got to sit next to Jackie Robinson.
What were you thinking?
Remember thinking, God, to see a big biceps.
He even got a signed photo afterwards, which he brought to the roadshow. The photo was signed by Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella. It had a value of $6,000 to $10,000 on the show, but pumped up in 2022 with a value of $8,000 to $25,000.
Wow, thank you. That's really wonderful, really wonderful.
Almost everyone seems to be in the habit of collecting items, and so did the uncle of this lady who collected baseball series programs from 1905 to 1954. The owner, who is also a baseball fan, had received the collection from her uncle. One of the programs was for the Second World Series, which was held in 1905. The program is a rare item that has survived for 100 years.
You have here, it's a 1905 World Series program. They gave these out at the Polo Grounds, which of course no longer exists.
The show's appraiser valued the collection for $12,800, but in 2022, it was valued at $17,800.
Wow, $12,000?
Yes.
This man was so in love with this painting that he decided to pay for it even though his cook's salary couldn't afford it. In 1985, he paid the sum of $1,100 in installments to purchase it from a gallery. The painting was made by Howard Finster, an American artist who said he was ordained by God to spread the gospel through art. It was valued at $15,000 to $25,000.
Really? That's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Good for Howard. I knew it was very special when I saw it.
Dollhouses rack up thousands of dollars in value. The dollhouse was made by a German manufacturer, Mortist Gottschalk.
So when you look at the front of it, this whole front facade that it has going, this just screams Gottschalk. This has all this ornate detail and finish work, glass windows, just an architectural piece in itself. These are really as good as it gets. This is a larger size of a Gottschalk house.
The owner is a miniature rebuilder, and he revamped the exterior of the dollhouse, which he got from a friend as a gift. With the condition of the house, the appraiser placed a value between $6,000 to $9,000.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, nice
That's
house.
so amazing. Thank you.
Nice piece.
Thank you so much.
2 jerseys belonging to some of the best baseball players in the game were acquired by the owner when he served as a clubhouse boy for the rookie Yankee team. One jersey belonged to Whitey Ford, an American baseball pitcher who played for the New York Yankees. And the second jersey belonged to Ford's battery mate, Yogi Berra. Ford's jersey, which had been altered, has a value of $30,000, while Yogi's jersey was as high as $100,000, making the value of both $130,000.
On this jersey.
My. I wouldn't know. I really don't know what to say about that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Ever heard of the children's book illustrator, Tasha Tudor? The original drawing of Tasha's first book, Pumpkin Moonshine, which she made for her niece, was acquired by the guest during the auction. The book was rejected multiple times before getting published by Simon & Schuster.
When she first did it, the publishers didn't want it, and
No,
she had it.
they thought it looked like a seed catalog, they said.
Yeah, they thought it looked like a seed catalog. It was her first item. Many times, first-time authors, they get rejected.
The guest illustration was valued at $8,000 to $10,000.
Retail, bookstore, children's art shop, or so on.
If you're familiar with the Dick Tracy comic in the Chicago Daily newspaper, you'd be fascinated by this strip. The artist of the comic was an American cartoonist called Chester Gould. The comic's debut was in 1931, and the strip brought by the guest was a 1932 edition, which was rarely found in the market. The value for the strip? $3,000 to $5,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. My goodness, I had no idea.
Dad rescued this painting from the trash, and more than 50 years later, it's worth thousands of dollars. The painting was made by John Ray, who was an American illustrator of children's books. Ray made the painting for the books Alice in Wonderland, written by Lewis Carroll. Value for the painting was $10,000.
Wow. Not bad for something rescued from the trash.
Not bad for the trash.
In 1871, my great-great-grandmother had a boarding house in Boston, and she housed the Boston baseball team.
The first baseball team in the United States were housed by this woman's great-great-grandmother. She had a boarding house in Boston where the Boston baseball team stayed. Most members of the team played for the Cincinnati Red Stockings, the first professional baseball team with 10 men who were on salary for 8 months.
Well, I know the Cincinnati Reds, the first $9,300 I read was the entire payroll for the baseball team at that time.
The woman brought some cards which were given to her by her grandfather. He collected the cards and had them cut to make them fit the album he made for them.
Well, what you have here are some of the earliest known 1871 photographic baseball cards.
These cards are sort of a trading card that are printed on cardboard, silk, or plastic. The pictures were that of players which included Harry Wright, George Wright, and Albert Spalding, who was the co-founder of the A.G. Spalding Sporting Goods Company. The album included letters to her great-great-grandmother that were signed by the players.
They must have really loved her. I'm sure she did the cooking, the cleaning for them, because if you read some of these lines here, I am just going upstairs to supper and feel awful hungry, but do not expect much. Poor meals here, too hungry to say any more. Harry Wright is tremendous. To have anything with their signatures on it is phenomenal, because again, you're talking about the precursor to the National and American Leagues.
So with that all said, let's see what it's worth.
I'm going to value this as an archive, everything here. If you're going to insure it,
Insurance, okay.
I would insure it for at least $1 million.
Are you serious? Oh my. Holy smokes.
Signed copies of historic figures like the members of this baseball team are always in demand, and the album was valued at $1 million. This lady better put this collection in a bank vault like she said she would.
Holy smokes.
It is the greatest archive I have ever had at the Roadshow.
Really?
Watch more videos and see other exceptional antique items.